everybody. Welcome back to the Pup and Away podcast. My name is Stephanie. I'm also Steph the Pro Dog Mom. I'm a certified dog trainer, canine nutritionist, and canine behaviorist, but of course, the very proud owner of Pup and Away in San Antonio, Texas, where we specialize in pet care with a behavioral edge. And today I am just absolutely fangirling because I have the amazing Angela Ardolino on as a guest today. You guys have heard me mention her plenty of times, her products, her expertise. She's one of my favorite speakers to listen to. So I am just like, my heartbeat's going really fast. You know, I've met you in person a couple of times, but it's amazing to actually get to sit down with you and have a full conversation with you about all the different things that you've taught me. And of course, I can always give this information to my listeners and my followers, but it would just be so much more efficient and, you know, meaningful if it came from you. So I also just have to show you before we get started, I am wearing your Dare shirt.
Yay!
Your stuff is so cute. This is one of my favorite shirts to wear. So for everyone who needs to see it, it says Dare to Keep Your Pets Off Drugs. And that's one of my favorite things about Angela is she, you have, I mean, we'll obviously get to a bunch of things, but you have created such amazing products that wholeheartedly I just know that I can absolutely trust, because that is so rare to find in any industry, but especially the pet care industry, supplements and things like that. So enough of me. We want to hear from you. Tell us a little bit about you, kind of what got your start, whatever you think is, whatever your favorite thing to tell people is whenever they say, like, how did you get here?
Well, I always like to tell people that I am a crazy pet parent just like you are. And I lost my first dog at age 7 because I did everything that a conventional vet told me to do. There was a state-of-the-art hospital that literally I could walk to with my dog, and she was my first, and I was going to do everything right, and I saved up my money. I was going to be the most responsible, pet parent. And what I did was that I put her health into someone else's hands, health and wellness into someone else's hand. And I blindly did everything that they told me to do. And she was dead at age 7. And I was devastated, and I needed to know what I did wrong and what happened. And that's what led me down that, rabbit hole of realizing that pets are property and there are no consequences, that our veterinarians and our doctors aren't taught a lot of things. They're not taught about diet and nutrition. They're not taught about the master system in our bodies that is responsible for keeping us at homeostasis and is responsible for keeping all of the other systems working. So yeah, here I am 20 years later, and I know a lot. And never thought in a million years that I would be making products. But let's see, 2015, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And I had already, because of Lucy, my first dog, had already taken out toxins out of my home. My water was clean, my air was clean, literally took out flooring. Like, I was one of those crazy people. There wasn't a pesticide or herbicide or fertilizer in my yard. And thanks to her, because I learned so much about conventional health and the flea and tick products and the heartworm and the yearly vaccinations that they don't need. And, what started her downfall is because I was feeding her the flea and tick and doing, overburdening her little body with all these toxins. Her body couldn't take it. And I took her in for diarrhea and vomiting, and no diagnosis, and $15,000 later, she was dead. So now fast forward to 2015, I'm like I'm eating right, I'm doing everything right, and I'm diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and I'm like, how the heck did this happen? And at the same time, my new dog, who's now 9 years old, my soul dog, is diagnosed with degenerative myelopathy, and both the drugs that he was supposed to be prescribed and the drugs that I was supposed to be prescribed, which mine were called Humira, which is a very popular drug, is already linked to lymphoma and cancer, and that didn't interest me. So I had figured out everything except for drugs, pharmaceuticals, supplements, medications, and they play a very, very big role in our health and wellness. So I started to look for how I could treat my disease holistically, naturally. What is out there? What plant or mushroom out there could help me, like this pharmaceutical drug could? And that's where I found cannabis. And I'll never forget the first time I took a cannabis tincture, and I was in more pain than I thought I was because I literally felt it like just all pain leave my body. And I was like, what the hell did I just take? This is incredible. I'm not high. I can work. I can drive. I can live my life. Why doesn't everybody know about this? And at the time, I had like a media company. I had a magazine and radio shows and TV shows where all I did was talk about holistic and natural living. So I immediately found a group of moms called Canna Moms who were literally treating their kids' seizures, cancer, autoimmune diseases with cannabis. Started to report on them, started to learn more and more about it. Had friends who literally had kids who would start having a seizure, and she'd calmly open up her purse and take out that same cannabis tincture and fill a dropper and put it in his mouth. And he would literally, within 20 seconds, sit up and go back to normal. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get into this cannabis industry. I don't know where I'm going to end up. I lived in Florida at the time, became a big, big advocate for getting medical marijuana legal there, traveled all over Canada and the United States, learning how to source seeds, learning about strains, learning about how it medicinally works. I know how to grow it. I know how to do everything. And then in 2016, I was actually, because I was such a big advocate, I was invited to attend the University of Vermont School of Medicine's cannabis program, where we studied all of its therapeutic uses, its research, its biology. And that's where I learned that animals have an endocannabinoid system just like we do. I'm a huge animal lover. I had a animal rescue for, over 10 years at that time. And I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to become the pet cannabis expert. I'm going to learn everything. And I did. And the first thing that I found out was that there were very few products on the market. And if they were human products. And they would just change the label and put a paw print on it. And it literally would have flavorings in it, xylitol, sweeteners, things that would kill a dog. So I was like, wow, I can't find anybody making a true cannabis medicine for pets. That's what I'm going to do. And I just started to, I remember going to the first holistic vet conference and asking the holistic vets, I'm like, look, I know all about it. What do you want to know? Do you want me to teach you? Do you want me to show us your case studies, show us how it works, what it works on. So I just spent the next 5 years adopting, rescuing dogs, that had so many issues and problems. I had relationships with veterinarians that would call me and go, hey, I think you could do something with this dog. And I literally, one case after another, would be able to take these old dogs with several diseases. They were always on 5 to 12 different medications or shampoos or ointments, and none of it was working. And they were literally on death's door. And I would detox them, put them on a real food diet, and start giving them plant, mushroom, adaptogenic medicine, and literally bring them back to homeostasis every time. Stop seizures, get dogs that weren't walking anymore to get up and walk again, put cancer into remission, several different types of cancer into remission, and or extend, like my beloved Nina, my Doberman with osteosarcoma, beat records on being able to extend her life and did not have to amputate and do the chemotherapy and radiation. And she had osteosarcoma, which is one of the most aggressive and painful cancers. And I never had to give her a pharmaceutical drug. So I just, I'm amazed at, my intent is to help animals. and to make the purest, most potent medicine. And I know how to make it and I know how to source it, and nobody else was doing it. And now I know way too much about the industry, how other products are made, how pets are considered property. So there really is no repercussions for making a terrible food or supplement and giving them to your pet and it kills them and there's nothing. If you were to sue them, the judge is going to go, well, how much were your vet bills? And yeah, that's not the camp I come from. I believe they're family members. It's, one of my beloved Odie is, one of the few times that I have felt such unconditional love, from another being. So to me, they are just as important and sometimes even more important because they're all people have sometimes, and so I'm going to continue to be a very loud advocate. I don't have very many friends in the industry because I am such a loud advocate and will not. I don't believe there should be, I truly abide by that do no harm philosophy, which is the Hippocratic oath all doctors take. Mm-hmm. Yet these pharmaceutical drugs are based on something, an animal, a plant, or a mushroom that worked in nature, but you can't patent nature and make $1 billion off of it. So they either make a synthetic version of it or they isolate a certain compound. And when you do that, you're going to have side effects. There's going to be repercussions. So don't mess with Mother Nature. She provides us with all the food and medicine that we need. And to me, it's how do I extract it? How do I keep all of those medicinal compounds intact? How do I preserve it without it, being in a bad preservative or a preservative that would cause damage? Someone just drove up. Hold on, I'm going to yell at the dogs.
We can't have a dog podcast without hearing dogs barking. Come on.
All right. Sorry about that.
That was always one of my favorite thing about your podcast is shut up, or no, you don't say shut up actually, but you say keep it down. I'm trying to record a podcast over here. I love that intro absolutely so much because it just, life with dogs is just, it can be totally unpredictable. So yeah, I have a lot of things to say because you hit so many fantastic things, and of course we'll go down maybe not all the rabbit holes, but we'll go down a couple of them. And you are more than welcome to say whatever the heck you want. You are completely unfiltered here on this episode. And that's one of my favorite things about you is you are not afraid to cuss. You're more than welcome to drop some F-bombs if you'd like. And like you said, you may not have many friends, but you have many fans because...
Yes, that's what I love.
It's important because, when we're talking about supplementation, money's involved and regulation, not even regulations, because we'll talk about regulations a little bit later, but everyone just tries to stay in their lane and be a little bit quiet just to keep themselves, from getting cancel culture is such a big thing right now. And what I absolutely love is
I got canceled last 2024 and I was like, what?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because your passion, your education, you are a legit person who has gone and educated yourself, has seen these things.
I have more in common with you, Stephanie, and pet parents, than the people making the products.
Which
you know
is
what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
I don't believe a natural product should have anything bad in it. Really?
I absolutely
go out
agree.
there, get out of the holistic world, get out of our space, go play with the rest of them. But don't you come in here greenwashing and say that your natural product is awesome and wonderful and contains ingredients that's going to hurt the animal. I don't care. Say whatever you want. I'm going to continue to be that person. I'm going to be that bitch.
Be that bitch, please. You're here to be that bitch. I have I like to call you the weed queen to some people who don't know who you are because you're just, you're not afraid to be that, to be your authentic self and to call out things in the industry, which is really important because there's so much information out there for pet parents when we're trying to read stuff online and all these things. It's confusing for a lot of people. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on today is just to kind of shed some light as to what are the different things that we should be looking out for. And unfortunately, there have been a lot of pets, in the past who have had to go through such agonizing illnesses, diseases, for us to find the way. So, for that, we say thank you to all of those pets, those souls, those families who have been through stuff before with us. And one of the things that I love even more about you after I was reading everything is when I found out that you also had a schnauzer. There's Mike. I don't even know if you can see.
I know.
That's Sully. He's
CP.
15 years old, and I am
Oh,
such a
nice
proud dog
work.
mama of him. But yeah, I always, whenever I saw pictures of Mr. Odie, I was like, that's even more amazing. So I guess let's kind of just get into the meat and potatoes of it, because I think we already established that there is quite a lot to cover. CBD in itself, I want to talk about mushrooms too. I forgot to put my mushroom earrings on today, but my other dog who's not
Oh,
in here, her name is Rishi, and I think I've told you that before when we've met in person. So I definitely do want to talk about both of those things, CBD and mushrooms, because those are super important. When I first heard about you and your product, when I first heard you speaking, I knew that there was something out there that I didn't know, but that I was missing. And then when you started to talk about all of these case studies that you've done, they're not even just, anecdotal, they're facts, and all the research that you've done. It was just like a big, like, this is what I've been searching for so long, because I also had a vet background. I was a vet tech. I wanted to go to school for vet school, so I went to A&M, which is the biggest college in Texas to go to for that. Luckily, I found out that I'm terrible at chemistry, so I didn't actually make it into vet school. I pivoted and I went more the hospitality route and the dog trainer route, and in just trying to figure out how to support my own dogs, like we all do, right? We unleash a bunch of different things that we know, and I had to change so many of the conventional things that I had grown up learning, right? That kibble is complete and balanced, and that's what every dog should be on, and flea and tick heartworm medication, like it's a necessity. And if you let your dog outside without that, they might get a flea and they're gonna die from that. But when he really unbox that, that Pandora's box, when we open up Pandora's box, we're really figuring out what are we actually putting into our dogs' bodies at that point. Like, sure, it's so normalized for you to hear, give the vaccinations, do the heartworm prevention, spay and neuter early, all these things. But when you actually start to think about what is it that I am actually doing, and when you had the experience with your first dog about going down that conventional route and trusting a vet care professional, and I love vets are super important. I know that you would agree with that, but you
I
have to
love
also,
holistic. I love integrative and holistic veterinarians
yes,
because
but
they get
even,
out of school and they continue to educate
yeah,
themselves.
but even still with that, so I go see an integrative vet, and she poo-poos on me when I tell her that I feed raw. It's so hard to find.
I'd move on. You know
I
what I
did.
do? So this is what I learned to do is that I learned to get blood work and x-rays if I needed them. And then I get on with my favorite holistic veterinarian. I send him to her and we do telemedicine. And not only is that awesome, but it empowers you as the pet parent because she's going to go do this, give that, whatever, and you're going to have to do it. But it's
Absolutely.
really, that's what I do now. I don't, everybody, we have so many choices and we don't have to settle for the vet that's across the street, which ended up killing my
Absolutely.
dog. I killed my dog. I killed my dog because I didn't question anything. So you had said something like, I feel like my number one piece of advice would be to question everything that you're told or that you read, get a second opinion, read the ingredients, look at the side effects. You're not going to be handed the brochure with that drug that you're given. You never are.
Hmm.
So you have to go online before you give it to your dog, before you allow them to give it to your dog. You're going to do your research. And you have to. You have to stand up and be brave and go, no, 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 do not give that to my dog. I want to look it up. I want to see if there is a holistic alternative. And I want to see what the side effects are because most of the drugs given have horrific side effects and the people don't even know it because they're not given them. They're not given that little insert. And then you go back because your dog's not doing well and they give you another drug and another drug and another drug. And now you've got 5 of them and they're all interacting with each other. And the body has no idea what to do with all of those chemicals. You're literally taxing the organ, the liver, that has to metabolize every single chemical that comes through your body. And that's just the drug or the food and the coloring and the preservatives that are all over their food. And then the pesticides we're putting on them and the cleaners and the plugins and the everything outside. It's like literally that. This is why 1 in 4 dogs has cancer. It's
Yeah,
because it's bombarding their systems. They're
they're portal.
literally not supported.
Yeah, and who's? I mean, and obviously our bodies are being infiltrated with all those things too. But unlike our dogs, we're not walking around in the grass and then licking our paws, right? That was just
Exactly.
sprayed with weed control and all that different stuff. So, I mean, yeah, there's so many different things. But so tell us, how can we go the natural way, right? So CBD is an amazing medicine that Mother Earth has given us. How and why should people look into CBD? I mean, I want you to talk a little bit about the endocannabinoid system, exactly what that is, and just you can go into as many specifics as you want. You can geek out as much as you want to, but just why is it so important for us to consider that, given our dogs may have a whole host of different things that they might be dealing with as far as arthritis and anxiety and different things like that?
The endocannabinoid system was named and discovered, I think, in 1993 or the late 80s, when they gave a rat THC and saw a receptor react to it in the brain. And they were like, wow, there must be a whole system of receptors. Let's look into this. And then they found the second receptor in actual dog's gut tissue. So it's actually been renamed the endocannabinoid OM because it actually includes the gut microbiome now, because we have receptors all over our gut microbiome. It's not called the endotumeric system. It's not called the, anything else. It's called the endocannabinoid after cannabis. The reason this medicine gets kept from us is because it would put most drugs out of business. Its main objective is to keep us at homeostasis and get rid of inflammation. And inflammation is the basis of all disease. Mm-hmm. So that is why it is so effective for so many things. The endocannabinoid system is a system made up of receptors, and we release something called endocannabinoids, which basically keep us at homeostasis. It's responsible for keeping all of the other systems operating correctly. But you can have an endocannabinoid deficiency as early as a baby. The first times you get your endocannabinoids are through your mother's breast milk, just kind of like the same way you get your microbiota is from your mother. So imagine if you are not, don't have a vaginal birth, you're not breastfed, the puppy's not breastfed, the mother's not healthy. You can have a baby or a puppy with an endocannabinoid deficiency. What's cool is that the cannabis plant produces phytocannabinoids, which replace the endocannabinoids and feed our system and bring us back to homeostasis. So there's literally this plant that mimics the same thing. But guess what? We also have plants that mimic hormones like estrogen and progesterone and testosterone. Every pharmaceutical drug is based on something that occurs in nature, but you can't patent it, make $1 billion. So they make a synthetic version, which never works the same. So this is why it works for so many things and why it's so good in so many diseases. A beautiful research that we have now is that how pain works is through 5 pathways, and pharmaceutical drugs are targeted to just one of those pathways or even one action in one of those pathways, like block the pain, make the brain not realize it's pain, a bunch of different things. So when you give a dog a pain drug and doesn't really work, and you go back in and say, how's the pain? Well, I think he's still limping. So they give another one and then another one and another one. And that's why, because they're trying to interact with all 5 of those pathways. When cannabis interacts with all 5. Same thing with cancer. If you've seen me speak, I always talk about this. There is a beautiful British journal review of cancer, taking all of the cancer research, and I believe this is actually a couple of years old now, but took all the research on cannabis and proved that in cancer travels through 12 pathways, and same thing, does several different things in those pathways. And cannabis has already been proven to interact with 8 of those pathways. And then you add mushrooms and adaptogens and a ketogenic diet, and you really do have a chance of fighting and beating that cancer. We all have cancer cells in them, in us. And it's just a matter of keeping those cancer cells from getting together, forming a tumor, and taking over the host and killing it, which is what I was able to do with Nina, my Doberman, who had osteosarcoma as a geriatric Doberman. And the moment I saw her start favoring her leg, I was like, shit, because 1 in 9 large breed dogs gets this bone cancer. So the moment I saw her favoring, I started going hard with the cannabis medicine, the ketogenic diet, the mushrooms. She's the one who made me the mushroom expert because that's at the time was using a powdered mushroom supplement. And so I really started to do all my research. How much of this mushroom extract do I need to get in her to make a difference, right? Well, I found out the mushroom powder I was using, I have to put half of the pouch into her food. And that was just one of the mushrooms. I was trying to do like all 5 or 6 or 7 that have already been proven to be amazing for cancer. And then she wouldn't eat her food. Well, I can't have that happen either. So that's when I was really like, what? How come I have to put so much? And why is it even powdered in the first place? Like, that's why I say, keep asking questions. Why is a liquid extract dried? You don't have to be a scientist. You just have to be a person that goes, I don't understand. Why does that happen? Oh, because the one I was using was imported from China. So do you think it's cheaper to import gallons and gallons of a liquid extract or of a powder? So I also come from that school. Anytime something is done to make it cheaper, I'm not interested. So that's when I was like, all right, let me go see if I can find somebody out there that's making a liquid extract that's potent enough to help my dog. And it took me a while, and I found a myco-alchemist and then met up, got with him. And I'm like, all right, let's make some formulations, change up your formulations because his are in alcohol, and make them safe and appropriate for pets. So that's how MycoDog was literally born. I used all the products on all of my animals for a good year before I even put the product on the market, and then didn't even tell anybody about it, just kind of put it out there, and then finally got around to telling everyone because I was literally making things to help the animals, my own animals and the animals on my rescue, because I could not find products good enough. And I was like, holy cow, this is who I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to do, because not that it's like terribly expensive, but my products are more expensive because of the time, the energy. I know all my farmers. All my farmers are either biodynamic and or regenerative farms. They are growing in exactly the way that these plants should be growing, the mushrooms should be growing. Also found out that the mushrooms that I was using, that I was getting from China, were being grown on sawdust from the sawmill in China. And we're very proud that they were repurposing, kind of like they do with the dog food. They take the dead, diseased, and parts that are not used and make dog food out of it. And now that's what they're doing with our pets' medicine? No, thank you. Mushrooms are supposed to be grown on the wood or the substrate that they're found in nature. They do not contain the medicinal compounds that we have already proven in research to be anti-cancer, antiviral, antibacterial, you name it, they're amazing. But people don't know that. I would say 80% of the products on the market don't even have mushrooms in them. What's very common is that they inoculate, spores on a rice or a grain or sawdust or straw, and the mycelium eats it, and then they take that whole thing and grind it up and call it a mushroom product, and it's not that at all. So that's what most products are. My products are not done that way at all. They are extracts, and even though what I was using was an extract, it was still a dried powder. And the more I looked into that, I was like, okay, why are they drying, and why are they doing something called spray drying? Spray drying is a technique where they add something, either maltodextrin or another ingredient, to make it it's a bulking agent or a fluffing agent to make it weigh a little bit more, so they don't have to put so much mushroom in that. The fuckery is, it never stops. And that's all I do is go, what, or how many times I go, this is my product. So my product, you read the ingredients, you know exactly, you can pronounce them all and you know what they all are. On other products, just turn them around. And the moment you start reading the ingredients and you don't know what something is, or you can't pronounce it, move on. Because I'm telling you, it shouldn't be in there. So that same company that I was using, I looked at their capsules, and there was something in there called microcrystalline cellulose. What is that? It's a fancy word for sawdust. So there's sawdust in the capsules. And this is a very common practice. I remember going to my partner's supplements and starting to look in the ingredients, and most of them had them. And I'm like, I don't understand. These are holistic, natural brands.
Right.
So there shouldn't be sawdust in our capsules. There shouldn't be these other ingredients in there. So that's all I do, is make pure, potent medicine. For mushrooms, a dual extraction is how you get all of the medicinal properties out of that mushroom. So we do a triple extraction, but even in the dual extraction, we do a hot water, which means 2 types of extraction. So we do hot water and we do an alcohol, and then we take a long time to evaporate that alcohol back out of the tincture, because it's not good for dogs. It's not good for cats. It kills good microbiota in the gut. I, again, come from that do no harm philosophy. Does it take a little bit more time? Yeah. Does it mean sometimes, we're getting better, that we may run out of one of our tinctures because of that reason? Probably. But most people don't want to take the time and energy or the cost it takes to take these extra steps. But that's how easy it is to do the right thing and make a really potent, powerful, synergistic medicine that's safe for pets.
Absolutely. So I have a small boutique also, and I've carried some other CBD brands and things like that. And of course, when your stuff came out, I was like, I must get them. Your wholesale team, your entire team, period, is just amazing. But I work with
Thanks.
Jen, and it is now the only CBD that I carry on the shelves. We carry your oils. We also carry some of your MycoDog stuff, and of course, we carry the treats. Because I'm a big fan of, kind of like you, I like to test the things out on my dogs first before I like to talk about it with my clients. But of course, needing variety is very important because things may not affect every dog the same way. However, your CBD, your products are the one that I have people coming back. I've never had anyone tell me this about any other brands that I had. Steph, you can never stop carrying this because it is amazing. And of course, it still affects every dog differently. I have to talk to some dogs or some pet parents about dosing. I have one dog, he takes the Calm because he definitely needs it. Mom said 1 drop puts him out. And I was like, whoa, his little system is struggle busting if that's the case. So we talked about other ways, to maybe dilute it just a little bit. She's now been putting it on a piece of bread and letting it sit for 2 minutes before giving. And now it has the right efficacy that it needs to without being so strong.
And it's the regular Calm, not the extra strength. Wow.
Not the extra strength, yeah, it's just the regular one. But I'm like, that just goes to show how much that his body is craving that sort of regulatory aid in his body. But to kind of go off, yes, your products are a little bit more expensive, but they work. Like any person that I've again, I mean, I could just go on and on about why your stuff's so amazing. Can we talk a little bit though about regulations, or actually lack thereof, in the industry?
Yeah, but I also would like to tell you why mine works so well.
Oh,
The joke is that I'm a witch, but which
that's right.
I'm leaning into that because man, lately it's really I'm coming out with 16 new tinctures next year or this year. Sorry, we're already here. And the first two that I released, I didn't even have rhyme or reason. I just wanted them first. And all my products before were to solve every cartoon on those dogs is based on a real dog that I helped. Either at my rescue or I had a groom shop, daycare, and boarding facility too. So, and on a weekend, I'd see 300 dogs, and 85% of them were suffering, either from skin, pain. It was
Something.
crazy. My staff would call me Dog Jesus because I would just walk around with a bottle and just hand it out all the time. And everybody would be like, this is the best groom he's gotten. He's so happy. He loves this place. And I'm like, yep, I know.
That's amazing.
But yeah, these things aren't regulated. So I based like my droppers, which is funny because that dog with one drop is, so sensitive. But even the dropper, a full dropper of my tinctures is what was found to work for most dogs in research.
Mm-hmm.
So that dog obviously is extremely sensitive. And the good thing is that it won't stay that sensitive. So as that drop starts doing its work, it will start building up. It will calm his system down, and she'll probably have to move up to 2 droppers to get the same effect. And maybe over time, not at all, or maybe
Right.
this will be his dose for the rest of his life. But yeah, there are no regulations. There's not even anybody else in the industry that I know of that bothered to go to school and figure out how to make this. I
Mm-hmm.
did. And then I
Mm-hmm.
went and found other people who did that. So the cannabis, also, if I'm confusing people with that, the plant is called cannabis. And if the plant has more CBD in it, it therefore has less THC and is considered hemp. And if that plant has more THC, it therefore has less CBD and it's considered marijuana. All very confusing, made up by the United States, doesn't make any sense. But that's what the world we live in. So when I say cannabis, I mean hemp and marijuana. So there isn't, because cannabis is an oil, the extract is an oil, it is not very bioavailable to us. We have to do things to it to make it more bioavailable. And one of the things that we do is something called a nano emulsification or homogenizing. So that's why on our bottles, you don't have to shake anything up because it's all been mixed in so that the moment it hits the mouth, it is being absorbed into the bloodstream. You're not eating it. So that is why so many people can use a lot less and it goes further. So even though the bottle seems like it's a lot more expensive, if you compare milligram to milligram or how that product was manufactured or even how the cannabis was grown or the other herbs are in it or the other adaptogens are in it, how they're grown, all that makes a difference. So what I did was just strive to find the very best, make the very potent, grow it in the conditions it's supposed to. And when you strive out to make that, that's what you get. A lot of products started out either as broad spectrum, which means they put it through another process and remove the THC. You can't do that, or you've taken away one of the two of the major cannabinoids. The two main receptors in the endocannabinoid system, the CB1 and CB2 receptor, CBD doesn't even bind to the CB2 receptor unless THC is in that. So it literally means a broad spectrum product is literally useless. And that's what happens anytime you start messing with nature and altering it or doing what? Over processing it. You don't want your food over processed or ultra processed, and you don't want your medicine over processed and ultra processed. And that's what I call pharmaceutical drugs. They're ultra processed medicine. And there is a place for pharmaceutical drugs, but the majority of the time they're supposed to be used for emergency or short periods of time because they all have side effects. They're all synthetic chemicals that your body doesn't recognize or know what to do with. So I can't remember, you were at the DARE presentation where I said you saw Carter play the liver
No, so cute.
up on stage. It's so funny because I just did that presentation again, but I didn't have Carter, and I was like, oh my God, what do I do in this part?
Where's Carter?
But like, even just knowing, if we understood how our bodies and our dogs' bodies worked, that to recognize that every chemical that's out there, your liver has to do something with. At night, our liver is supposed to be detoxing and healing us. But if they're on pharmaceutical drugs or eating a kibble diet or, getting flea and tick, that liver's working overtime to detoxify and do something with those chemicals. And when it gives up, it stores them in the fatty tissue of our dogs. And that's why old dogs have lumps and bumps on them, is because that's literally what they are. And the last thing we want to do is cut those open.
Yes.
Because now we're releasing years and years of stored up, chemicals and these tumors. So it's really important. So yeah, very little people know how to make a medicine or a tincture, an extract. And there's no regulations. The only regulation that we have is that we're grown under the Farm Bill, which makes hemp legal, 0.03% THC legal in all of the United States. So that's what we're grown under. And it's organic, has to be grown organic because it is a bioaccumulator and considered a medicine. Other than that, anybody could put anything in that bottle. There is no regulation. The FDA doesn't look after it. The FDA doesn't look at our human supplements either. So I don't know why. And not, even if they did, they're not here for us. They work for the pharmaceutical companies. I keep track of all the vet drugs that are new ones that are being released, and the FDA doesn't have time to look at those. And they do something called approved, legal to market, unapproved drugs that are legal to market. So if I'm a big Zoetis, which is owned by Pfizer, and I want to put out a new drug, the FDA goes, go ahead. We don't have time to approve it, but go ahead and market it. And then when it gets so many complaints, do you think they pull it off the market? They do not. Just look at the Apoquel insert, which of course nobody has ever given. It literally gets updated. I've got letters from the FDA to, veterinarians warning them, stop using NSAIDs. They're not supposed to be used. Stop using opioids. We don't need them. They're too dangerous. Stop, prescribing these drugs on a regular basis. They're dangerous. And this is all because of pet parents and or the veterinarians who do care, who speak out. We got a new drug, Librela, that just got released.
Waiting for you to bring that one up. Oh my goodness.
Already has a letter going out warning veterinarians of all the side effects. Not going to be pulled off the market.
No.
So that's what makes me so angry, and why I'm such a loud advocate is because I think about that pet parent and my first dog, and me walking in and trusting that vet and killing my dog. And now it's one injection of some drug and we need another arthritis drug. We don't need another arthritis drug. You just need a full spectrum hemp extract with some frankincense and turmeric in it. Done. Pain gone.
Absolutely. I wish that this isn't the first time that this has happened, with Oxycontin and all drugs made for humans. It's not regulated, and it doesn't become something until it is a worldwide epidemic that we really need to be looking at. With Sully, he did have a soft tissue sarcoma that we did have removed, and a year later, another bump came up. I went to go see that integrative vet who was not for me feeding raw foods and things like that. And she looks at him and she was like, well, because he's high risk, we really should cut that open and remove that one. And I said, okay. So we scheduled the appointment. The appointment was for 3 weeks later. I had been putting your remedy on it. And the day before the surgery was scheduled, I looked and I was like, hey, the bump's gone. And so I went to I kept my appointment. I went to the vet and I was like, I need you to look at this. This thing's gone. I'm not gonna move forward with the surgery, obviously, because there's nothing to move forward with. But one thing that you should know also is he had a little itchy spot there before. It was like it was an itchy spot, and then it became a bump. And she looks at him and she goes, she like touches him, and he kind of like, oh, that, you know, that was itchy. And she's like, oh, we should put him on some Cytopoint. And I was like, the fuck, we are not. And so she was like, well, if you
And she didn't ask how you got rid of the tumor?
no, she didn't get. I told her I was okay. So I told her that I was putting CBD on it, and she actually touched it, right, and it was like goopy, and she was like, "Yeah, you should stop putting that on because it just what is it just confuses your vet because it doesn't do anything." And I was like, "The fuck it does!" Like it. Hello, you were gonna put him under the knife, ma'am, and in 3 weeks the shit went away. But the crazier thing was, you know, obviously she knows that he's high risk for cancer because he's had cancer before, so that's why she was like, let's go under the knife again. Let's put my 15-year-old dog under anesthesia and put him under, do it again. But then
How does that make any sense?
and then
How
she
come
wants
we
to
know
give him
that doesn't make
Cytopoint.
sense?
And then
And
just further and if you again, I've read the package, my friends. I have looked at, you know, you can find it online. It increases the likelihood of cancers. So how does that make any sense to where you're going to put my high risk dog that you're the one telling me that he's high risk for cancer on this drug that could possibly still give him more cancer?
also, let's back up a little bit. So the first question should have been, oh my God, it's gone. What did you use?
Nope.
What did you use?
Yep. Nope. Nothing.
Nope, that doesn't happen. And then we scratch it, and he goes like this, what's that diagnosis? What is that diagnosis that you just did by doing that that's making you think that he should be on this horrible drug? Do you know how I used to do consultations all the time? I don't have time anymore, but I also couldn't mentally take it because all I would do is go backwards in the vet records and go, I don't see a diagnosis. I don't see where they came up with this diagnosis. How did they test and get to this diagnosis? I just did a consultation for one of my new staff members whose poor dog is just suffering so much and typical on all the drugs and nothing's working, and found out that the doctor diagnosed her dog with Cushing's disease because a papilloma popped up, had the swollen belly and a papilloma, never tested, and gave her a drug, and her dog has been on a Cushing's disease drug for 4 years, and her dog doesn't have Cushing's disease.
Oh my God.
So when you give a dog that drug, which is awful and has no hair on his whole underside, now has Addison's disease. And it's been 4 years. So now we have to wean this dog off of it. Again, guess what gets rid of Cushing's disease? A full spectrum hemp extract. So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I would never go to that vet again.
Oh yeah.
It's how they don't care.
It was so asinine,
it's insane.
like backwards thinking. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not a vet, ma'am, but I know that what you just said is horseshit and
right.
crazy.
It's not using common sense. You've been brainwashed or you don't care. And they are. What are they taught in school? I've spoken at several vet schools. The vet school didn't invite me. The students invited me, and it's always the holistic club, and they come listen to me on their lunch. That's who I want to be my veterinarian. Them. I walk the hallways in the school. They all have Hill Science Diet, Royal Canin, Ed. They control everything. They make the drugs. They make the food. They own the school. They own the vet practices. And it's all keeping our pets sick and broke. Us broke. $15,000 on my first dog, and I had no business spending that much money. And I even got an autopsy done after. IBD is the only thing that they found. I now know what happened. And I see it happen every day, all the time, and it breaks my heart. And that's why we're going to continue to scream it from the rooftops, because you see me every time I'm on stage. I'm like, raise your hand if you ever had a dog get sick and you went to the vet and they gave you something and things got worse. And that happens all the time. When you put a dog under anesthesia, you are putting their whole immune system offline. And when that dog, if that dog is geriatric like your dog, or has threat of cancer. You don't know if cancer's in that body. When that dog comes out of anesthesia, what do you think they're working on? And in the case of Nina, when I finally did at 2 years get her leg amputated because it was blocking off circulation to her foot, when they come out of anesthesia, the body is concentrating on healing whatever just happened, the leg, the cut, the removing of something or whatever. And that's what gives cancer an opportunity to spread like wildfire. Because it's not, the immune system's not paying attention to it anymore, or not paying as much attention to it. All these mushrooms and plants and adaptogens do is support the body's innate ability to heal itself. And if you can do that, you can literally take on anything.
Absolutely.
And help them.
I love that. Yeah, so yeah, there's so many things, and it's scary to be in that position when the vet professional that you hired is telling you your dog has cancer. Your world like blacks out around you, and I just remember that moment of thinking, I'll do whatever you say. Just tell me what to do. And I had to leave the vet clinic in order for me to take a deep breath and for me to start thinking straight and get rid of the world is falling down around me. Let's think and breathe and research and find a better
all of
option.
Your choices. Right, because you're not giving them.
It's just a matter of being educated, and that's one of the things I love to do on this podcast is to bring like research to people and say, hey, at the end of this episode, you're going to be more confused than anything. When I have like my spay and neuter conversation, you're going to be more confused than anything because I'm going to be telling you things that have gone against what your conventional vet is telling you. But I just need you to have the education so that way you can make an informed decision as a pet parent. But I digress. Can you talk a little bit?
You have a choice. That's my biggest thing.
Yes.
Is you have a choice. Even if you want to go the conventional route, you can add the holistic too, because that's what I see so many times. Just like with your Soli, we cut out the soft tissue sarcoma and then it popped up somewhere else. What if we're going to do that? If we're going to cut it out, go to someone who really knows what they're doing, because you can help it spread if you don't get clear margins. Even taking an aspirate of a tumor, when they're pulling that out, if it's cancer, it can be released in that space between the skin and everything else and spread.
Okay.
So you can help it spread that way. But what makes no sense to me is like, why aren't we going, okay, convention, cut it out. You cut it out. Now this dog comes out of surgery. It's probably on antibiotics and painkillers and who the hell knows what. We don't do anything to repair the gut afterwards because all of those things destroy the gut microbiota. And we don't do anything to help keep that cancer from spreading again, besides a radiation or a chemotherapy. Any dog who has cancer should be on a full spectrum hemp extract for the rest of their life to always support the immune system for keeping that cancer from coming back. You got it the first time. What makes you think it's not going to come back?
Right.
You don't, there's not a cure. It's not gone. We just removed that tumor. But what are we doing to keep the body up and fighting on a regular basis? And that's what hemp does. That's what mushrooms does. That's what these adaptogens do, is they literally just help your body fight them off.
They're so great. So when we talk about different things like CBD, obviously there are some things called isolates. Can you give us a little bit of information on if those are good or not, and why not? Or why?
Just say no. Just say no to isolates. Isolates are synthetic drugs. Mother Nature makes things so just the hemp flower that has all the medicinal properties in it. There's over 118 discovered cannabinoids. I know there's probably thousands, but they're still just discovering them. There's also terpenes and flavonoids and fatty acids and proteins. All of these properties have a job and make the medicine work. An isolate is when they pull one compound out or they make a synthetic version of it. So CBD isolate, there are tons of products out there. It's the products that you see 99% pure CBD. That's not what you want. You want a full spectrum hemp extract, which has CBD and all of those other compounds. CBD isolates have already been researched and cause liver damage. So you do not want to give these. There's also you'll find isolates of our other cannabinoids. So there's THC isolates, THCA, CBG, CBC, all of them. Probably you could find an isolate and some sort of claims. It's always better when you get a full extract out of that flower and preserved in something that is safe for pets. Don't ever do an isolate. So stay away from broad spectrum products and isolate products and do full spectrum. Some products started calling themselves full spectrum with no THC. That's literally the definition of broad spectrum. It was just so funny because I was thinking about this, if you'll indulge me, this weekend. I was talking about how I can't drink wine because most wine is filled with sulfites and preservatives that are terrible for us and also give me a headache if I even look at them. The more you take out these things out of your life, when you're exposed to them again, you're like a canary. Like literally, my eye will freak out. I'll get a headache or whatever. I'm like, okay, there's a synthetic chemical in here or fragrance in here somewhere. But anyway, it was really funny because I was talking about, I know what wines I can drink. They're called natural wines. So I did that education and nobody ever has them. I've gone to one wine, I'm in California. I've gone to one winery after another for an event or whatever, and nobody has a natural wine. I'm like, well, then I guess I'm not drinking it. So I'm literally was thinking about, wow, what if I hadn't got into this industry? I wonder if full spectrum would even be a thing. Would everything be a broad spectrum product? Because there's so few people out there who got an education and who know how it really works. Right when I did that, we're driving down the road and there's a sign that says natural wine, eggs, something else. And we like literally pull in there to ask the guy, to meet the guy or whatever who's making natural wines. But that's literally how it goes. You can't even, if people like me didn't exist, full spectrum products wouldn't even be on the market anymore. We literally have huge organizations like the NASC, the National Animal Supplement Council, who I like to call the mafia, who literally pretends to be the FDA for animal supplements and literally tries to control the market and tried to get everyone not to do it and then gave in. And now he's doing pieces of research proving that broad spectrum was it isolates? I can't remember what he did. Broad spectrum and isolate products are well tolerated. And he did a 30-day piece of research on healthy dogs.
30 days.
Not
wow.
on, and I'm sorry, isn't it the dogs with cancer and seizures and pain that are taking these products? And those are the dogs we absolutely don't want. So no proof that it works, no proof that whatever, it was just well tolerated. You ask yourself, why is this organization doing this?
And
Money, a money grab.
Tolerable. I want to give them something that's going to work. So yeah, always.
So again, I put a QR code on every single one of my bottles and a batch number on the bottom. Nobody does that either. That QR code takes you to a certificate of analysis showing you what is in the product, proving that it does have all of the cannabinoids and that it's full spectrum, and what it doesn't have in it, meaning no pesticides, herbicides, solvents, all of the other things that are in it. Nobody's making me do that. A lab test costs $450 and I get 3 done for every single one of my batches.
3. Wow.
Nobody, because I don't trust nobody.
You're going to get verified and verified again.
Yeah, exactly. All my products are human grade. I take them all the time and lots of people do. Yes. But yeah, to me, there should be no difference between human and animal natural medicine. It shouldn't taste like candy. It should taste like, the mushroom or the hemp or the whatever herb is in it. But flavorings are literally a bunch of different synthetic flavorings together, chemicals together to make a flavor profile. So don't need that. Don't put it in there. Just say no. Don't need those ingredients.
What you mentioned is that they shouldn't taste like candy. I took, I'm blanking out on what it's called. You have your MycoDog it's Clarity. I take the Clarity because my brain is overstimulated at all times. And the first few times that I took it, I was like, that's got taste to it, right? And someone once told me, like, the more bitter it is to the mouth, the better it is for your body. and why things like sugar and candy are bad for you, right? But after like 3 days, it tasted good to me because I knew that it was providing my body and my brain with what I needed just to keep on, just again maintaining a regular day in my life. So it's very
It's
interesting.
almost like tasting when I tasted his natural wines. I could now it did not taste like alcohol. I could taste the grape in it. I could taste the fruit in it. Like it was
That's
more like whatever, it tastes like nature instead of like chemicals to me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at my list, and I think you've covered everything that I really wanted to talk about. Again, just
Good.
because your knowledge is so known, like you're not just reading from a script, like you able to put in these little nuggets of information into just how you speak about any of these products. It's amazing. Maybe the one thing that we haven't really talked about, do you have any dosing tips, mostly about the CBD for pet parents?
Yes, so dosing is always hard because we've been brainwashed that you weigh this much and you should get
Hmm.
this much. That's not how it works with adaptogens. Adaptogens are plants, mushrooms, that when we take them, they adapt to whatever our stressors are. So even if you and I were suffering from the same thing, it's still going to do something different in our bodies. So again, if they have a severe endocannabinoid deficiency, they're really sick, they're really old, they need a lot of support. Everybody's different. So you have to find your dog's dose. Like I said, my dropper full is what is found, is the potency that is found in most, that works on most dogs in research. But your dog is an individual and you know your dog better. So you could start at a half and go up to a full if you feel like you need to and you want to go slow and low. But what I want everyone to realize is that these products are completely natural. The body recognizes them and you cannot overdose on them. It's called LD50. There's no lethal dose. It's not like an opioid or a synthetic drug where it's going to mess with the heart operations or mess with the breathing. It will not do that. If the body gets too much, it just gets rid of it. So I want everyone to get rid of that fear because people think we mean one drop instead of one dropper. And yeah, your dog may get sleepy or high, and high looks like a little bit of wobbly and maybe go to sleep, but there's no permanent damage, no harm, will not hurt them whatsoever like a pharmaceutical drug will. It's completely safe. So don't feel like you're giving too much. You're not. Hemp, you're always going to want to put right onto the mouth because it's an oil. The mushrooms are mostly water, and we're mostly water. So you can put it on your food. You can put it in your coffee, put it in the water, rub it on this. You can do anything with them. But the hemp, it's always best to put in the mouth. If for some reason you can't get it in the mouth, on dogs, you can rub it in their ear. It's really absorbent in their inner ear. Cats in their paws is really absorbent. But yeah, I had a 6 pound Chihuahua who was 18 that I needed to get a full dropper of the healing, or she'd have actually she got 100 milligrams a day. 6 pounds, 100 milligrams. So again, she was a tiny little dog, but was a mess, so she needed a lot. And after 3 months, I would take back 5 milligrams to see if I could bring it back, she'd have a seizure. So for the rest of her life, she got 100 milligrams. And at first, there was a lot of sleeping and woozy, but then she came back to life and was running and having the greatest time ever. So I just want people to release the fear. If you've got a full spectrum product or a whole extract of mushrooms and you've got a COA proving that it's a pure product, you've read the ingredients, there's no weird ingredients you don't recognize, you don't need to be worried about it. You need to be worried about the pharmaceutical drugs
They have a whole
and the
list.
flea and tick and the heartworm and the kibble and the treats. The majority of the treats are crap out there. It took me 2 years to even find people that I could partner with to make treats because I'm like, I just want to put my stuff on someone else's good treat. Oh my God. It was really sad, the things I was finding. Whether it was a veterinarian, even a holistic veterinarian, people who were like known, I would be like, what would happen is I'd go, where's your turkey come from? They didn't know. That's not good enough for me. They should know. You should know. In my world, in a supplement world, you should know your farmers. You should know where every ingredient comes from. You should know how it's grown. And again, mushrooms, how they're grown, what they're growing on, it makes a
So
huge
important.
difference. Chaga has to be grown on a live birch tree to have betulinic acid, which is its main medicinal compound. If it's grown on any of those other substrates, it doesn't even have it in there. So, and just so that I could say, chaga does not have xylitol in it. I
Oh
know
yes,
that's
that,
like
that was a
the
new thing that
newest
just went
thing
around.
going around, and I'm like, no, no. Xylitol has to be ultra processed from an ingredient that is found in the birch tree, but it's not inside of chaga, for fuck's sake. I mean, every
Just the
day I get like a text or an email, and I'm like, oh my god,
and
why are
again,
people asking these questions about the pharmaceutical drugs and the
yes.
chemicals in those?
Yes, yes. And I think everything just starts with that fear. If I give my dog this, it's gonna like things can happen, right? And again, we have very trusted vet care professionals that are giving the information of the Librela, the
Or they
Apoquel, the
just right,
Cytopoint, the
or they
thing.
work for a brand, or they work for a brand and they're just salespeople. Just because they're a veterinarian doesn't mean they're practicing. They could just be representing a brand.
Right.
So yeah, look at who the expert is, who's been practicing the cannabis medicine, the mushroom medicine, or they just talking.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing too is like people say the research. Like when I was first considering getting my dogs on raw food, and it was a different vet at the time, but they're like, you should really stick with like the Royal Canin and the Pro Plan because they've been around for so long and they've been studied. And I'm like, studied by who? By them themselves? Because yeah, we're just gonna cherry pick information, and we see
And
this
how
happen over and over again.
and how ridiculous is it that we're required to research real food?
Right.
Really? Again, why do these medicinal plants and mushrooms exist? Real food is real food and real medicine is real medicine. Stop messing with it. Whatever. It's ridiculous that we have to prove that real food or raw food is good.
Is
It's
nutrient
crazy.
dense. Great. Yeah. Amazing.
You know.
Angela Ardolino, you are so amazing in so many different ways. I just hope that you continue to kick ass in everything. I am beyond amazed that I can get you on with me today to spend a little over an
Absolutely.
hour with me.
You did
Um,
awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It's people like you that educate me to bring it to more people. And the more that I learn from people like you, the better for everyone. I have Rita Hogan coming on in a couple of weeks, and I'm just like,
Awesome.
everyone in this industry is just so amazing because I can tell that you guys care. You care and you want to educate, and that just speaks ginormous volumes. Is there anything else you want to mention before we hop off?
No, keep spreading the word. That's what we have to do. We're not a billion-dollar company that can buy our message and train tons of veterinarians to be our army. So we have to create our own little army and tell everybody about keeping it natural. You can heal naturally, and it's not, when you really start to look at everything, it's not as difficult as you think it is. You just, once
Absolutely.
you know, and then you start spotting it. You start looking at it. Wait, that blue doesn't exist in nature. That red color doesn't exist in nature. It's probably fake and synthetic and, whatever it is. So that smell doesn't smell like something real. Whatever it is, you start really being able to see everything and start taking those chemicals out of your life, and it'll be much easier on your body, and your body will be able to do what it needs to, and same with your pet.
Absolutely. Where can listeners learn more about you or follow along with you in all your journeys?
I have a website. It's my name, AngelaArdolino.com, where all my blogs and protocols and videos. My podcast is Your Natural Dog, and my products are CBD Dog Health and MycoDog.
Thank you so much, Angela. You've been so
Thanks.
amazing. I can't begin to thank you enough for being here with us. I look forward to seeing you more. Are you going to Feed Reel again this year?
I don't know. That's like in October.
It is in October.
I know where I am until May. and then I don't know what I'm doing after that.
Gotcha.
But
Well, I
yes,
hope to
I'm
fit into
sure I'll
it.
see you at one of the events. Thank you so much for having me, Stephanie. You did a really great job.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you hopefully soon.
Okay,
Bye. Thank you.
bye.
Now, that might be the end of the episode, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. Follow us on social media. I'd love to connect with you. We have quite a few social media platforms. For nutrition and holistic pet care tips, follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Steph the Pro Dog Mom. You can find fun training tips on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Pup and Away SA. If you're in San Antonio and you want to bring your dog to us for boarding, training, socialization, and nutrition, come find us. But if you're not in San Antonio, we do training and nutrition sessions virtually. Yes, they can be just as effective, I promise. Please rate, review, and subscribe to my podcast on whatever platform you listen on. And please share with a friend. The positive reinforcement of knowing people actually listen to this and find it valuable helps motivate me to keep on recording. We'll see you guys at the next episode.